the world's leading fashion houses, Christian Dior, Yves Saint Laurent, and Chanel, and the world's highest-paid models are all strutting their stuff at the Haute Couture shows in Paris. It's an annual event, a kind of tribal dance that brings society women from around the world to look at and buy clothes so expensive that for the same money they could probably go out and buy themselves a house. But of course you can't wear a house to a charity ball, and even if you could, it wouldn't get you on the best dressed list. The clothes being sold in Paris might. As Marilyn Monroe first told us, and Judd Rose now reminds us, some like it haute.
In an exclusive store on an elegant avenue in Paris, there's some shopping going on. Serious shopping. Power shopping. World-class shopping.
Judd, what do you think?
Stunning. Stunning. Tell me about that one.
Well, this one is the kind of a thing that if you owned it, you'd wish it would rain. But look at how pretty it is. Lovely, lovely dress. I think I love that one.
Meet a woman who never met a mannequin she didn't like. Nan Kempner is a wealthy Manhattan socialite. It is her mission in life to shop till she drops.
I have a husband who said to me, for God's sake, Nan, have you looked to see what the market is doing? Don't. Be careful. Don't spend a fortune. But unfortunately, he knows he's dealing with a clothes-crazy lady, and he's got a problem on his hands.
In a boutique where one dress can cost as much as $60,000, it's not a problem, it's a crisis.
I love it when I don't like them.
You do?
Yeah, because I like so many of them that it's wonderful if there's one I can eliminate.
Makes life simple.
Makes life very simple.
But understand, that's not just any old dress.
Conceived as a whole like a little poem.
Like a poem.
And it's like a story. Each dress is a story, it tells a tale.
It's a tale of rags for riches, and it's told twice a year when the Paris fashion houses display their latest designs. Last week, they were showing their collections for spring and summer, and Primetime went to Paris to observe a world where social status hangs by a thread. The world of haute couture. So now, by this time, maybe you're saying, wait a minute, Judd, I'm just an average person leading an average life. I don't know the difference between haute couture and haute brand. That's okay, that's what we're here for. Let's start with the term itself. Haute couture is French for high sewing, the highest expression of the designer's art. Now, to wear couture, it helps to be very thin and very rich. Now, check that. It helps to be very thin. You have to be very rich. For example, Yves Saint Laurent's suits start at more than $13,000. So do Christian Lacroix's gowns. Gianni Versace's flashy fashions are no bargain either. We went to his show with LA Times fashion editor Mary Lou Luther. How much can you spend on one outfit?
Well, evening gowns can go for as high as $100,000, depending upon the amount of the embroidery. That sets the price, really.
Mary Lou, who could or would pay $100,000 for an outfit?
The same people that buy Rolls Royces and Lear jets. The rich.
Well, Fitzgerald said the rich are different. Apparently, they don't own any mirrors. Who do you know who would pay top dollar, or even chump change, for this? Or this? Maybe in the Champs-Élysées, not in Chicago. This is one of your designs right here. Now, what sort of women did you have in mind when you designed that?
A very young, beautiful woman with beautiful legs and beautiful shoulders, and there are many in the world.
I don't know any women who wear that sort of thing.
Well, even in Chicago.
In Chicago, you see that? You must be hanging out in a different part of Chicago. No, this is a crowd you'll only see ringside in Paris during Couture Week. Movie queens, European countesses, and social sirens, all jockeying for position.
Heavy. Yeah, heavy. Tell me how. Very heavy. It's very heavy, the protocol, who sits where and who is seated next to whom.
The elite prefer to find a seat in the front row. That's also where you'll find the titans of the fashion press. Women's Wear daily publisher John Fairchild, never without his poker face. Vogue editor Anna Wintour, never without her dark glasses. Vogue creative director Andre Leon Talley, never without a witty aside.
You know, all the leverage buyout wives are here. All the great ladies who've married well, who have great fortunes that they've heard from dead husbands. They're all here, and they love spending their money on dresses.
And any old excuse will do. Designer Karl Lagerfeld recalls a visit from Ivana Trump, wife of you-know-who.
It's Mrs. Trump that I need something sportive. Exactly. My husband brought a football team.
Did someone say frivolous? Come on, says the bride of billionaire Alfred Taubman. Girls just want to have fun.
It's always fun to come to Paris, isn't it? I mean, one has lots of friends, and there are lunches and dinners with friends, and one goes to the shows and to the museum, and so it's an event. It's not just clothes.
Of course not. In fact, most of the ladies who lunch claim they hardly buy a thing. To hear the wife of multimillionaire financier Milton Bruce tell it, she's one savvy shopper.
You can pay $5,000 to $7,000 for a ready-to-wear dress, and you'll walk in, and 3 or 4 other women will be wearing the same thing. So for a little bit more, you might get something very special that's unique.
No Marie Antoinettes here, says the woman who weds super-rich investment banker John Gutfreund.
I think it's just you have your priorities, and if you prefer to do haute couture, maybe you give something else up.
I like people who overspend. I think it's much more pleasant, and it gives a kind of excitement to life. So when people sit on the money, they become very boring, and money alone is nothing.
Karl Lagerfeld, who outfits some of the world's wealthiest women, has spent some of his money on a stately home festooned with 18th century art and antiques.
Even in the communist countries, there are people who have money and who spend the money. So why suddenly make a big fuss for a dress when people spend the same amount of money for a stupid dinner?
$60,000. Where do you eat dinner?
A dinner party, if you have a dinner in your house with lots of people, you can spend easily for a party, a birthday party, a wedding, $60,000. I can tell you that many parties have cost much more than $60,000. Huh? And the party is over, but the dress you can keep.
Think of it this way. Couture dresses are the Formula One racing cars of the fashion world. Sleek and exotic, difficult and expensive to build. This is an atelier, the garage where the fashion mechanics do their body work.
The artisans who do the embroideries, they're not so far apart from those who repair the beautiful 18th century furniture. All this is work, handwork, which has to be done with love, can't be mass-produced. You see,
Countess Isabel d'Ornano used to own one of France's great fashion houses, Cherrère.
All these people who do the beautiful embroideries, they would never be able to work if the couture didn't exist. And yet it's an art. It's an incredible art. That will stay in the museums. That is not throwaway.
Some might argue whether couture is an art, but it is definitely one of the great old traditions in this city that's synonymous with art and beauty. It's also a business, and on the surface at least, not a very profitable one. In fact, last year alone, the 22 official Paris couture houses lost as much as $18 million presenting their collections. But make no mistake, those fancy fashion shows are designed to make the designers rich in a more indirect fashion. Every season, hundreds of reporters and photographers cover couture, generating thousands of pages of copy. By one estimate, $60 million worth of free publicity in print alone, and that seals licensing deals.
Because the glamour and the allure of a great Saint Laurent, collection of Saint Laurent, attracts women all over the world. They know the name. I mean, it's a big thing to get a name established in fashion, and there are only really about 8 or 9 really top names, and they've established those names through these shows.
So couture helps sell everything from cigarettes to sunglasses, luggage to lighters, makeup to perfume, and of course, clothes you might buy. This month, the designer is focusing on couture.
Of course, 3 months later, he will interpret that into a ready-to-wear that more people will find accessible, and then later they'll copy it in Hong Kong, and it will reach the woman who wants a $50 dress or top as opposed to a $50,000 dress.
In other words, that which they sow, so shall you reap, eventually. Still, you've got to wonder how anyone can sell $50,000 outfits and not make money. Well, here's one reason. Remember Nan Kempner and her shopping spree?
Of the things we were trying on, I would love to have the green raincoat with the green dress under it because it's such a marvelously pretty number and one looks well in it.
Especially if one pays next to nothing for it. Nan and a number of others who wear their couture to a lot of parties have cut special deals with the designers.
Most of the women who wear couture don't pay full price, do they?
Absolutely not. Some of them don't pay anything.
How does that work?
Well, if a beautiful movie star wears a Christian Dior or imagine if they wore a Claude Montana, it helps his business.
So when Catherine Deneuve is photographed at the Saint Laurent show in a Saint Laurent dress, she says this.
I don't think
price has got anything to do with haute couture.
But it's a pretty good guess she didn't pay retail. Oh, wait a minute, that wasn't nice. Let's try to make it up to her.
Deneuve, may I speak for millions of American men and tell you that I'm crazy about you?
Good. Be that way.
She's nuts about me.
Forgive me if this sounds a little sexist, but I think it's the gentleman who generally foot the bill for these clothes, right?
Yes. With pleasure.
With pleasure. That's pretty expensive pleasure.
Yeah, but I think that there are some girls that really deserve to be well dressed, and my wife also is one of them.
Dino ought to know. He picks all his wife's clothes, from her $40,000 dress right down, she assures us, to her fishnet stocking.
No.
But hey, girls, if there's no Dino in your life, here are a few tips we picked up in Paris. This spring, the look is sexy. Skirts are short, colors are bright, bigger is better. Big hats, big jewelry, big busts. Speaking of big busts, everybody agreed Claude Montana's show for Lanvin was a flop. Of course, Freud couldn't figure out what women want, so how can some guy with a needle and thread?
No one knows what women want. They want to be seduced. Meaning what? Well, fashion's just seduction. Like a good meal.
Maybe that explains all the haute cuisine that seems to go with haute couture. Half the time, people were picking up hors d'oeuvres and dropping names.
So, wacky party, huh?
Yes, full of fun. You know, Julie Andrews said to me that the Gianni Versace show was a tour de force, and I think she said it for all of us, really.
Party honors of the week went to Christian Lacroix, who staged a show to introduce his new perfume. There was a dancing dwarf dressed like a peacock. A tapping toreador with a chorus line of butterflies. And a baby ballerina doing a duet with a polar bear.
I think it was fairly cosmic. The choreographer was obviously on LSD.
One guest arrived late, fashionably late.
I did emerge to see, like, Al Jolson and 8. And I thought, no, I've done too many trips. This is it. I'm grounded.
Now, you may ask what a man in blackface serenading a chimp has to do with perfume. Who knows? They're French. Go figure.
I'm going to Rome this weekend. I'll be in Rome Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Hassler. Call me. Wonderful, Massimo. Ciao.
Ciao, babe. Here's a little air kiss before you go. Let's do lunch. What's your number?
In the book, please call me. Anytime you need it. I just arrived.
And in the meantime, we'll ponder what we saw here, this spectacle of style, this pageant of publicity seekers and social climbers. What does it all mean?
Let's amuse ourselves. Let's have fun. Let's not take this thing too seriously. Let's not take clothes too seriously, for God's sake. Put them on, you wear them, you take them off. It's like a good meal.
Ah, there's that meal metaphor again. Well, food for thought, certainly, but we did find one thing hard to swallow. There was that moment when the models in their fancy fashions pranced past the wealthy women while the sound system played a song about the homeless. Ironic? Yes, but like haute couture itself, strangely fitting.
Judd Rose.